Welcome to Your Infinite Health. Are you getting older?
Are you feeling it?
How would you like to do that in reverse?
We're your host,
Dr. Tripp
and Lene.
We've run an integrative medicine practice for 13 years.
Together, we have 60 years of combined experience helping clients.
We've helped tens of thousands achieve success in health and live longer, happier lives.
In this show, we'll cover peer-reviewed and evidence-based integrative approaches to creating the health you've always wanted.
We also share professional experience we see in the field every day.
So if you're ready to feel, look, and live your best life, you're in the right place.
Welcome to Your Infinite Health podcast.
Hey, Tripp.
Hey, Lene.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Well, as well. Thank you for asking. You know, people always say that. They say, how are you? You answer and you say, and how are you? And then they answer and then they say, thank you for asking. But I probably wouldn't have asked had they not asked first. It's just weird.
Okay.
Okay, I've overthought that whole thing. I have a joke.
Really?
Yes. Let's see if you can get this one. What kind of math do snowy owls do best? Don't think too long. Awkward pauses on podcasts.
Okay. I don't know the answer.
Okay, thank you. Algebra. This podcast is going to come out after the fact, but Christmas is in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. Hayden Huck just did his last day of school and he had kind of like college level exams he had to do. He's here in the office killing time, as is decompressing as is the eldest, the musician Henry, who is putting on with his music school. They're doing a recital tomorrow and he's going to be singing Heartbreak Hotel so I'm curious to see how that goes. But later this evening, I thought we could take the family to the mall, dun, 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 dun.
Oh, dear.
So that the children could learn how to purchase, be thoughtful, and think about gifts and exchange gifts for each other. Thoughts? I'm a little nervous to go over there. I know it's going to be crazy.
I think we should just let them do it themselves.
Yeah. We'll just drop them off and then go eat. Well, I don't know. I have to give that some thought. But while I'm thinking about it, we've got a guest today, and I'm pretty excited about it because I think I'm going to learn some really interesting things I never knew. His name is Justin Frandson, and he's a renowned athleticism performance coach and author. He specializes in nerve work and is the founder of athleticism.com and EMFs.com. He has been working in the field of athletic performance for over 25 years. Justin is the author of Athleticism, Whole Body plus Whole Brain plus Performance, which delves into the connection between the athletic performance and the environment. Justin became interested in the impact of environmental factors on athletic performance after noticing that many of his athletes were breaking down due to the effects of wearable technology. In response to this, he looked to nature for solutions to the man-made EMF challenge. His grounding bags, which are sold at physicians' offices across the country, are the leading natural answer for helping people coexist with EMF. Thank you so much for joining us, Justin. All right. Welcome, Justin Frandson. Am I saying that right? Is it Frandson? Frandson. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So I'm curious about your history and how you became the man you are today. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, you bet. So I'm an athleticism performance coach. I started athleticism.com over 25 years ago, working with amateur and professional athletes. I do nerve work for sports performance and treat concussions. And about a decade ago, I saw athletes breaking down from wearable technology. In particular, one of the strongest, fittest guys came in wearing a smartwatch. And he's like, Justin, I have pain in my wrist. And I look down and go, where? He's like, right in my wrist. I'm like, well, here, take off that radiation watch off your wrist and let's see how it feels. And so needless to say, the pain went away. And that was right when I just basically knew I had to figure out what was going on with all this electricity in our world and how differently we're made from the man-made radiation.
So were you an athlete yourself?
Yes. I grew up playing tennis and went to USC. I wanted to play at USC and got hurt and couldn't play. So I've dedicated the rest of my life to helping people achieve their dreams, to be able to play at the level they felt they should have been able to play at, like I should have. I felt I should have.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Oh,
It was
no
an
worries.
opportunity,
It's just part of
I'm
the
sure.
part of the journey. Yeah, it's a blessing in disguise, and that's, I think, a lot of what happens with people on their learning journey is one door closes and so much more opens up, and yeah, it's really meant to be.
So was that your first case where you made the connection between the pain and the
Electromagnetic field sources and
EMF, or like what was the spark that really made you turn on and dig in?
Yeah, so that was it. But I had several learning experiences before that. I mean, I took an internship in college, got stuck behind a copy machine making copies. I was in a commercial real estate firm, but I just got stuck making copies. And so I'm pulling paper off the X-ray machine, and the X-ray machines are ionized radiation. So my fingertips would burn from pulling them off the X-ray machine. So that I knew wasn't right. I could feel talking on a corded phone that it wasn't great for me. So even corded phones were just, I'm like, what is going on? If I would talk too long, I could feel the resonance of it. And so I knew it. I was the last guy to get a cell phone. And so there were several learning experiences throughout my youth that brought me to that awareness for sure.
Okay. And then, so how did you turn that into what you're doing today and working with clients? And what's your ideal client? Like, how does that work? And what do you do with them once you have them? Do you like go in and throw away the TV and the phone and like they're not allowed to do any of that? Like, how does that work?
Yes. No, I'm teasing. No, our whole game is to coexist with all this technology and not let it chip away at our life force and our vitality. And so we want to create a coherence with it. And that's what we really recommend. And the learning that all our clients are doing is how they interplay with their environment and this invisible environment, and really understanding the physics and dynamics of how we're made and how we're one with our universe. We're one with nature, and how we act like a capacitor, and it really feeds us when we're in nature. And that the difference between us and in the universe, and then all the non-native waveforms, the man-made electromagnetic fields, we call them electromagnetic radiation, because they're non-native waveforms and they're polarizing for their body, and they're basically a one-directional waveform. But that's not how we're made. We're made on scalar waves that distribute equally in every direction. So we're on unpolarized waves. Non-natives are on one-directional. That's the difference in a nutshell. And so the learning that goes on is to teach people the understanding of the framework of how we're designed, and then to establish some great proximity protocols when we're using it, and then protocols to facilitate recharging our body battery by getting out into nature, and then using our EMF rocks grounding bags when you're in your home.
How do those work? Well, first of all, let me back up. Tracy in Wisconsin needs to know what scalar waves are.
All right. So here's your physics.
That's a big question.
Tracy, you're in for it. Now, when I drop a pebble in a pond, right, does the waveform of that pond go out in a circular resonance in every direction? Yes.
It's
not a trick question.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So
right.
It's a simple.
No, I'm visualizing it as you're saying it.
Yeah, the wave, it goes out equally in every direction. You drop a pebble, it's just nice circular resonance out in every direction. Why doesn't it go in a straight line, Lene? Because of scalar waves.
Something to do with the water. Oh, I thought it had to do with the depth of the pool of water, but okay.
Well, that would be determining how big of a splash the waves make when they break, or, on a shore per se. But the actual directional waves are because they're scalar waves. So scalar waves are unpolarized waves. So that's the framework for us and our entire planet, everything on it. So everything's unpolarized. our energy field.
How does that relate? How does that relate to the toroidal field? Is that what you were about to say? Because aren't we in a toroidal?
Yeah, so the toroidal field would be, it would be considered a waveform, but the framework of their waveform are scalar waves. They're unpolarized waves. And so just to give some more examples of how we're one with the universe. So our energy fields go out 6 to 8 feet in every direction. They didn't say, hey, stand 6 feet away from me, only from my right ear. No, it's a resonance all around you. All right. So that's kind of the framework. And then Schumann resonance, the healing pulse of the earth, that's about 7.83 hertz or waves per second. You're not just in it in this spot and then you're out of it in this spot. It's the whole universe that has a resonance. Same with the sun. You get the positive charge of the sun. You're not in it over here and out of it over here. There's light coming in all around us. So they're unpolarized waveforms. And so that's really the framework of us and our planet and how we're one with it. And that simplifies the scalar waves. The scalar waves are basically the framework for every waveform, and especially toroidal fields.
Okay. Very helpful. Thank you.
So my interest obviously as a physician is then that impact, electromagnetic fields impact on our health and our physiology. And I think, thinking about the impact it has on just the hormonal balance that we have and our circadian rhythms is really what I think drives a lot of the health related problems, not only locally but throughout the body, and keeping that field in a kind of a symmetric, balanced kind of environment is really key to keeping good health.
Agreed. So let me break it down for you a little deeper and allow your listeners to really grasp this concept. I mean, our environment is air. And so I ask everyone, what's our environment? It's everything around us. I'm going to lean in on the air. Our air is ether or plasma. Waves and particles travel through that. That's how we're able to communicate. And I'm in Southern California. And so, there's a distance between us, and that's how this is working. And our bodies, here, let me back it up a little bit. So we are one with that universe. We're based on scalar waves. They're unpolarized waveforms. All the non-native are one directional. So when you're introducing something that's one directional, it's going to chip away at our life force. It's going to affect us. And the question is how? And the answer is in pretty much every disease that we've seen clinically on the planet. And the ones that I'm going to mention right now, I've seen every single one of these in the last decade of working with clients. And I'm not a licensed physician. I'm a performance coach. I work with professional athletes, but I have gone in and metered homes over the last decade and seen this stuff. What happens is it's a breakdown of the mitochondria right out of the gates. Dr. Martin Pall talks about the voltage-gated calcium channels opening up. Those are 4 words that mean that's the gateway for your mitochondria to get energy. So from there, it's an oxidative stress. 2.45 gigahertz or waves per second is the exact bandwidth that destructures water. That's the lowest frequency that will start to destructure water. So it's dehydrating us and our planet. From there, you'll start to see shifts in our REM patterns, which disrupt the hormonal systems that you're talking about. So REM patterns disrupted, your pineal gland gets calcified. You don't get in the deeper REM sleep. You go into these twilight sleeps. So what happens is the first signs clinically that I see when I treat my clients, because I'll treat concussions and do lots of applied kinesiology work. Eyes, teeth, thymus, and intestines are the 4 areas that get decharged. So when they lose their polarity, it's really tough to heal when your energy system's not fully charged. If you have a battery that doesn't have water in it, it's not gonna work. So that's kind of the system with us. From there, I'm almost done. Level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is all cognitive. Then we see the cognitive breakdown. So lack of focus, memory, anxiety, fatigue, stress, headaches, behavioral challenges, lack of sleep, like we said, headaches. You'll get more severe headaches in level 2, which would be like a migraine or non-trauma concussion, non-trauma head trauma concussion symptom of nausea, vomiting, fatigue, stress, bloody noses, seizures, muscle twitches, rashes on the skin. And then level 3 would be the bigs: cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease. And then what we've seen and we're seeing now, because they keep opening up the borders, they're trying to replenish the population because of infertility.
So I notice a lot of over the course of the last as I transitioned out of oncology and into integrative medicine, I actually became much more familiarized and look at the optimization of our physiology. And to what degree will this disequilibrium and the scalar waves not being directional instead of kind of circular and basically going all directional. Let me say it that way. What happens to those balances as we get into those unidirectional waves and imbalances of physiology?
Yeah, everyone's going to break down differently, Dr. Tripp. It's such a different world where you got to look at someone's predisposition, their genetic makeup, their age, how sensitive they are to the EMFs will be basically directly correlated to how toxic they are with heavy metals or nuclear hiding behind the heavy metals, how much exposure they had when they were little. There's so many variables that go into it as far as how people are affected in a lot of ways physiologically from the EMF. So if you take a young child and you have the head of their bed on the other side of 2 smart meters for 10 years, the kid's going to grind their teeth to nothing, down to the gums. And then the other kid in the room will have seizures. That's what I've seen. Wow. And then if you have a child who just got childhood diabetes and they fly on an airplane, their glucose levels will spike 200 points and they'll get a bloody nose when everyone turns on the Wi-Fi. Where you and I sitting there, we won't feel really anything, for the most part. I kind of feel it, but most people, that have healthy compositions and that aren't compromised, they're kind of numb to this whole topic and they don't really feel a lot of it. I've been in the business of feeling and having people learn how to feel and connect to how you feel and get out of the meta universe of wearing a watch or a device to tell you how you feel, how you slept, how many steps you took, when it's time to eat. That's not what we want. We want to connect to God, get grounded, and know how you feel. And so those are the different scenarios, but we've seen a lot and everyone breaks down differently at different levels. So when I'm at a trade show, I'll test a lot of eyes. The eyes will get decharged from the lighting, the improper lighting. It just depends on the situation, the scenario, and everyone's unique past.
How are you testing the eyes?
Are you familiar with applied kinesiology, muscle testing?
I am. Is that what
so
you're
we
doing?
test the reflexes of the body. The body has... I'm sorry?
That's what you're doing? You're doing kinesiology?
Yes.
Muscle testing?
So everyone has, there's a delay. So everyone has
I know, I'm sorry.
A reflex in their body, their primal reflexes. So when we say, I don't know, we shrug our shoulders, we get rear-ended, we go, we arc back, breathe in, open our eyes. If we get hit in the stomach, it's a different reflex. You close your eyes, you bend forward and you exhale. So there's natural primal reflexes of the body. Applied kinesiology is a way to muscle test those primal reflexes. And so I do a lot of applied kinesiology to test the muscle reflexes. And you can show exactly how strong or weak an area is by setting your attention to those areas and then testing the strength of a muscle reflex that would correlate with that.
Do you ever run into false positives?
Yeah, you do. People's energies can be switched. You can have a lot of different scenarios for sure. And so you got to kind of know what you're doing on that. And, but for me, I'm just looking for the reflex not to outmuscle someone. So we can easily, read someone pretty well, and you could just test them. You can see how they test by just asking them what their name is, and they'll be strong. And then if they say their name's someone else, they'll go weak. So you could kind of get a really quick baseline gauge on their energy systems, just in some simple ways.
Cool. So somebody comes to you, they're addicted to tech, right? Let's say they're a gamer, they've got all the wearable stuff, they've got their phone in their hand 24/7, they watch CNN 24/7. How do you start to detox somebody like that?
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. Tell them to change the channel. That would be the easiest. And then they got to get outside. Stop watching CNN for sure. And that's the root of all the challenges.
My in-laws, when they were alive, they had a TV in the living room, a TV in the bedroom, a TV in the kitchen, and it was always on the news, every single station. You couldn't go into another room without that. So
no, it's a little fear-driven situation. So yeah, I mean, I've stopped watching all TV altogether for the last several years, and I don't know as much as what's supposedly going on in the world, but I have a way more peaceful life, and I sleep a lot better, and I'm not afraid of anything. So it's a lot of the fear out there is they're selling it for industry, and they've sold it in every major industry, to be quite honest. I mean, the auto industry, they're selling us that electric cars are the next greatest thing, and they're not. It's 18% lower testosterone for guys and girls driving electric cars. And we had a colleague test that, and with a special forces military. So a younger demographic had 18% lower testosterone, which is crazy. But It's across the board. All these industries are lying to us.
Yeah, I believe it. So what would you do for that person? Like, so you tell them to turn off the TV and go outside? It's got to be more. There's more to it than that, right?
I mean, literally, if they would do those two things, it would change their life. I mean, quite honestly, it sounds so simple, but it's so profound. And that's how taxing the television and fake news is for your body. And that's how powerful nature is at facilitating healing you. So if you're sick and compromised, turn off the TV and just go sit outside and get barefoot, have a picnic, touch a tree, hug a tree, get into a cold plunge, get into any body of water, and recharge your body battery. So Eileen McCusick says it in a great way. She talks about the body being a body battery. So we get a negative charge from the earth and their ionic charge of the earth, the Schumann resonance. We get a positive charge from the unpolarized light of the sun, and we breathe in minerals, as Zach Bush, MD, would say. And hopefully we get it from some of our food. And then we also get some minerals and the conductivity of it all from the water we drink. And when we're missing any one of those elements, our body is in a more of a compromised state, which in turns become a gateway for challenges to arise. So nature is probably one of the most incredible ways to facilitate healing, and probably medically, especially Western and I would say Eastern medically, one of the most missed prescriptions of doctors out there across the world.
And it's free.
You
don't need health insurance for that.
It's free. Just go outside. I mean, the light, the circadian rhythm to reset our bodies. So we live in this living collective tissue matrix with our body. So we have our own coherence when our body, we rev, cross, crawl. That's our energy systems. We have that same coherence with our environment, where we're one with it outside. And you can get that coherence through the rhythms of day and night. So when it's night out, obviously you're going to want to sleep. When it's daytime, you're awake. Those are the natural rhythms of our body. And then to take it even a step further, our bodies act like a capacitor. So we take in that resonance. That is the most important part of why exist, is to really get fueled by that nutrients outside. So the challenge is we also end up being a conductor and taking in extra voltage of the non-native waveforms. Ends up getting a little bit tricky. So you got to detox And the way you detox is by getting outside or tapping on our bags, going through some of our detox protocols with our grounding bags.
Oh, I wanted to ask about that. What are those and how do they work?
Yeah. So EMF Rocks is one of our brands that's one of the leading natural EMF protection products sold through doctor clinics all around the country. And what we do is we hand mine crystals, and the crystals have moisture and magnetic properties in them. So they're beautiful pink crystals, and they're called colloidal crystals. So they've been compressed from an underground water source. So they're different than just grabbing a rock and bringing it in your house. Certain rocks have, like shungite amethyst, black tourmaline, they have more magnetic resonance and that piezoelectric effect where they can help you in a more challenging magnetic environment. Ours have that, and then with the moisture content in it, they're exponentially stronger than all the other crystals out there. So we deploy them in a grounding bag, we call it. And so you place one of these, it's about 1 pound of crystals. So this inner bag of crystals is inside this, and you place this on your bed. You'll sleep 3 to 60% deeper. That's what Dr. Rodney White shows. You end up creating a coherence amongst our environment. So our external environment, we have this living collective intelligence matrix where, we're one with our environment. When we're not outside in nature and we live in these homes, we call them homes, or really electrical boxes, we got to create a coherence. We have to bring nature's resonance into our home to do that. And so the grounding bags is just one really effective way that can help do it. And there's protocols on how we use them in the home.
I was going to ask, do you set one in every room? Do you put one by your electronics? Probably need one in the car.
Yeah, definitely. You all the above. You put them. What we typically do is we put one on or under each bed, desk, or car seat. And if it's under your bed, just make sure it's touching the leg of the bed, and you'll sleep up to 60% deeper. 5 grounding bags together, in addition to the one on your bed, you got to add 5 together to clear 2,000 square feet of a home. You need 7 together if you have solar, because solar kicks off what we call dirty electricity. It's a static in the line where there's lots of static and sparking. So that's really disruptive for our bodies. And then if someone drives an electric car and they choose to keep it, even though it's not great for the environment or them, and it uses more of the electrical grid that everyone's saying we should use less of. I don't know why they make them. But if you choose to keep it, 7 grounding bags behind the driver's seat will help facilitate creating a coherence for you in your electrical car.
Honestly, I've never gotten into the electrical car thing. I've known too many people with Teslas get stranded in Texas.
Yeah, that Cybertruck, you just have to fill the whole back end with the rocks.
Oh yeah, you really would. I mean, it's going to require just a lot of them. Sitting on a massive battery is not good for your health. Like, literally is not. And people that think that this is great, I urge you to look into it a little more and understand just information like the book, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. He categorized the history of electricity in life, and they called the flu because it would fly in and fly out with solar flares before 1889, before we introduced electricity into the homes. And then ever since we introduced electricity, every major challenge of level 3 that I mentioned has been on the rise. Diabetes kind of took the cake, literally, figuratively, but there was never a case of diabetes 130 years ago. Or there maybe were 6, I should say, worldwide. 6 is what he found in all of his research, and his bibliography is about 150 pages thick. Very well referenced and researched, and now it's really prevalent. So yeah, there's a lot to understanding how our environment really is directly correlated to our health.
For sure. What are your thoughts on like this new AI craze and how that impacts behavior and health?
Oh, yeah, it's a tricky one, Lene, because we're literally giving our information away at record speeds. Every app on our cell phone has 1 to 15 trackers that's tracking everything from us. So just your bank app alone knows everything about you, from all your passcodes, all your bank accounts, where you live, who you voted for, how fast you drive, what your gait is. They know a lot of your biometrics.
They can't know that. I'd be in jail by now.
Oh, they do.
If they were tracking
Believe
my
me, they
speed.
do. And they're sending it to AI, and AI is learning quickly from it all. Yeah. So, and the biometrics, giving away those is commerce. So biometrics are your single most unique identifiers for your retina, your face, your voice, your fingerprints, your palm prints. And people are not me. People are giving those away at record speeds. I mean, even most of these, like Zoom, this isn't Zoom we're in, but Zoom, it has AI tracking all your information. I use Jitsi for a video platform. They don't really, they're not really learning from us on that one. But yeah, so we make Faraday bags as well. You put your phone in it, it protects you from your phone, and it slows down the life of the battery because it slows down the data harvesting. It lengthens the life of your battery because it slows down the data harvesting. So that's a huge reason. And the EMF world, you guys, has brought me from working with pro athletes to treating people, to recharging and flushing them, to understanding the difference, and creating coherences with our environment and understanding circadian rhythms, all that at a deeper level, and then how nature helps heal. But then the next thing is how this cybersecurity and our body sovereignty and our freedoms really are dependent upon our information, and technology, and how they use that against us through surveillance marketing and selling us stuff on the internet. And it all ties into all that information that we give away at record speeds.
Wild. You would think with that level of invasiveness, we wouldn't have the crime rates that we have, but what do I know?
I know, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know how they let people wear masks. Like if I owned a retail shop, oh man, I wouldn't let anyone in without with something covering their face. Yeah. So yeah, I just right. I don't know how that works.
Cool. I'm definitely interested in getting some grounding bags.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
We're sending you out a care package. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Justin. I'm looking forward to that.
I wanted to ask for some other references too, because I know there must be a ton of information out there, and I have to beg a certain amount of ignorance and interest also at the same time to be better informed. And maybe some of our listeners would like to hear maybe a couple other references that they could look into. That would be great too. Yeah.
So on our products, Dr. Rodney White did a study on his sleep for 3 months. His deep sleep improved 60%, which is incredible. That's a 3-month study.
Amazing.
You could probably verify that most clinical trials are maybe done for 1 day per person. So it's really rare to see something done at that extensively. Dr. Berlando, alphavedic.com, did a waveform test, which is really unique. But as Bruce Lipton will say, your health lies in your chi. The chemistry in your body would be secondary because you can't have chemistry without energy. So Dr. Berlando has dual impedance antennas, and he measures your chi or any distortion in it, and he could tell exactly what's wrong with you. So our grounding bags clinically passively treated up to 91% of the markers that were off from EMF. which is significant. Wow. He's never seen anything treat Huge. 91% passively. The lowest one, Dr. Tripp, was 67%. So that's the lowest that they did. And her thymus was decharged. If we would have had her tap on the bags over the thymus, literally to recharge the thymus, she would have been off the charts. So now that's some studies on our end. I've done pH studies where it gets better with the grounding bags, even after standing in front of a Tesla battery and a smart meter. Your pH really changes significantly with it, and then the grounding bags will neutralize it. We've done EEG tests. We've done heart math tests. You have more heart coherence with it. We've done Kirlian photography where you see your aura change colors with it. I mean, the list is endless on how powerful and how medicinal nature is for us, and then these products in particular. Now, to go into the EMF studies, there's endless studies that talk about the non-native electromagnetic fields, like EMR, electromagnetic radiation, being a class 2B carcinogen. So it's really single and double strand DNA breaks. They use it as weaponry in crowd control, and the millimeter waves are. This stuff is just taxing on our body. So NIH has a bunch of studies. Beverly Rubik has done studies on it. There's a great documentary movie called Take Back Your Power by Josh Del Sol on the smart meters. That's a great watch. He has lots of resources on there. Bioinitiative.org has done thousands of studies from probably about got hundreds of scientists in over 40 countries. And they all show that this stuff is challenging and have set some great levels for safety. Dr. Klinghardt talks about mold, microtoxins, and parasites being charged from EMF from his studies. Dr. Todd Watts at Cellcore will back it up with candidus and fungus and saying those are charged from EMFs as well. I mean, the list is long and extensive on the proof that these non-native waveforms are really, really challenging for us.
So, question about the rocks and that the difference between the natural exposure and using the rocks and that. Have y'all compared that and to see? Sounds like it would be better to use the product as opposed to just the natural exposure.
Oh, you mean being outside in nature versus the crystals?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously they're one and the same. I think you just get a lot more benefits being out in nature because you have all the components, not just one. This one, you just have the Earth's resonance. Out there, you have the air, the light, the sounds, the frequencies.
Out there, you have bugs.
Yeah. So
I like the idea of bringing the outdoors in, actually.
There you go. So a lot of people do, and they need to when it's cold out and they can't get out in the extreme temperatures. So yeah, they're a great answer for EMF protection when you could bring them in. And it's the Earth's resonance, not all the others, the sun and the light and the air all in one. It's just one of that piece of the puzzle, but it's really powerful. And the market's showing it. The doctors that test it absolutely love it. And we sell them through all different types of medical practice, from MD to chiropractic to naturopath, holistic doctors, acupuncturists. I mean, the list goes on and on. It literally, so many people are absolutely loving it. And then, of course, they muscle test really well for those that like to do applied kinesiology.
Real quick, do they Is there an expiration date? Do they lose their benefits after a certain period of time?
Yes, just like we all have an expiration date, so do our products. And that's one of our selling points. This isn't a GMO food or manufactured resonance in our environment to combat with the other non-native, manufactured resonances. This is nature's way of healing. So when the crystals dry out and lose their form and they're not a solid rock anymore, they lose their function for EMF protection. And that'll be anywhere between 2 to 4 years approximately. So they'll last for years. It's a long duration for EMF protection, but there is an expiration. And when they lose their color and turn really white, or they lose their form, put them, outside in your garden, and you'll have the most nutrient dense garden. And then you have to purchase another grounding bag and restock your inventory. Mm-hmm. There is a life supply, and that's like a plus, because I just see too many other devices out there. There's so many gadgets going, hey, we have this scalar technology. It lasts forever. It can clear a 50-story plus high-rise building forever. I'm like, what? How in the world does that work? And it just doesn't make any sense. And why would we want to have a modified resonance in our field? Like, we already have them. That's what we're wanting to convert, those waveforms. And no one does it better. No one does that conversion better to help us coexist with it than nature herself. So that's where we looked. And everyone looks to nature to ground stuff, right? Well, so did I. And that's where we got that's how we're bringing these products to market, is because they work so well.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, what is one thing that you want the listeners to know?
I want you to know that getting grounded by nature is your nature, and that our environment could kill us or allow us to thrive. So to look to your environment when you get sick. And as the invisible rainbow will say, a lot of people got sick when they rolled out radio waves and satellites and radar, and then most recently 5G. And I really feel it's more of a environmental stressor than the boogie virus that everyone says is what they're worried about. It's about your biotrain and your life force being strong, because you're going to adapt when you need to, and then at the level you're capable. And all that adaptation before electricity was brought into our space were from solar flares and cosmic shifts. And that disrupts our REM patterns, which people end up adapting to as well. So, that's the message, is literally understand that stuff, get outside into nature, because that's how you're going to facilitate healing. And Lene, as you said, it's free. And then when you can't do that, bring nature inside your home to create a coherence with your home and get in the best circadian rhythm that you can with the day and night. And that's how you're going to be able to have longevity, perform, and then keep your vitality up, and then especially heal if you're in a compromised state.
Awesome. Thank you. And then where can the listeners learn more about you?
EMFrocks.com, athleticism.com. That's spelled athleticism.com. You can find all of our curated health products on there. We have an MCT oil, which helps buffer the glucose spiking from EMFs. We have Y-Clay toothpaste, which is just a couple ingredients in there, just hand mined crystals, distilled water, and then organic essential oil spearmint. So some incredible products on there. I have a couple books that we have written, one on EMF, which is called Grounded by Nature and Athleticism. Whole Body plus Whole Brain equals Performance is my other book. So we have some great reads for you as well. And on Instagram at Athleticism Neurostacking for anyone looking for concussion treatments or nerve work for sports performance. And then at EMF Rocks for all of our grounding products. Awesome.
And I'll have those listeners in the show notes as well. Justin, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Really
thanks so much,
learned
Justin.
a lot. It was
very nice.
Learned all kinds of things I didn't know. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Elaine. Thanks, Dr. Tripp. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Okay, listener, I hope you found that informational, educational, inspirational, somewhat entertaining. And until next time.
Thanks for subscribing to Your Infinite Health. I'm Dr. Tripp.
And I'm Lene. Until next time, feel it, look it, and live it.